Hi, this is Timur Dar with The Beat, chatting with the team behind the new Mortal Kombat video game. So, Ed, Dominic, I think there's an overlap between comic book fans and video game fans. So, anyone who's a comic book reader, particularly DC, reboots are the bread and butter, something they're familiar with. I'm curious how your approach to rebooting the franchise for this new game.
Well, for this game, we rebooted it on kind of like we nuked the whole game, right? We literally, as far as this story is concerned, it literally begins with a big bang. So you can't get any more earlier than that. And but we are basically telling a brand new story with existing characters that you know, redefining their origins, redefining their relationships with each other. And so that's the cool novelty of it, is the fact that I know these characters, but they're being told in a completely different story with different relationships.
And I guess you don't want to throw the baby out with the bathwater. I'm curious, what did you retain from the previous iterations, and how did you shake it up or create new things for this game?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of what MK fans are familiar with remains, because we're keeping sort of the foundation of all that lore that was built up over the past 30 years. But then we're taking things and twisting them, trying to find new avenues for the characters, new ways of looking at them, and sort of tweaking those details to spin the story in a new direction that it will feel fresh and novel, even though there's a lot of familiarity in there at the same time.
So, Yuri, you're no stranger to playing ninjas. I'm sure
True.
you're mostly associated probably with Sasuke Uchiha, but you've also played other ninjas here and there, Ninja Turtles, probably 3 out of 4 Ninja Turtles.
Correct.
Here you're playing a Smoke, another ninja. How would you describe Smoke, and what makes them unique from, of course, Mortal Kombat has so many other ninjas. What makes them unique from all the other ninja characters?
Well, I would say, his backstory. Every time I, come in and play a character, even if it's similar to a character I've played before, the story is different and the setting is different, and that's the same here. And the story that they've come up with, and it's nice that they had a story for a fighting game like this. A lot of fighting games don't even really care about the greater story and the character interactions and relationships, but this one actually has good stuff to dig into. And I love the idea that, and I think I can say this, that Smoke becomes like an adopted brother to Scorpion and Sub-Zero, and you get to sort of see the relationships there, and it inevitably will create a different kind of ninja than I've ever played before.
A ninja with a heart.
A ninja with heart and smoke, right? Heart and smoke will be the next Mortal Kombat game. Actually, you heard it here first.
Kelly, you're no stranger to the Mortal Kombat franchise. You played a number of characters in the past. This is a completely different character. This now you're voicing Li Mei. Curious how the opportunity came about for you, and how would you describe the character?
I just got a call and said, you want to do another one of these games? And I said, sure, of course. I am not a gamer, and I had no idea of who this character was at all. So I was like, everything had to be explained to me like a baby. And so it's fun to be able to play these kinds of characters, but because I know nothing of this world of gaming or this new world that was created, I have to rely a lot on Dominic and his direction and explaining every single line that I do. He has to explain to me the situation, what's going on, the relationships. It probably takes him 10 times more work to work with me than other actors, because I know nothing.
And all these stories are new, and they're connecting the dots in a different way. And so having Dominic, there whenever we were recording was key, because he has all the context. He's got the whole world in his head, and we didn't. So that was absolutely necessary.
So probably one of the most exciting announcements is the inclusion of characters like Homelander, Peacemaker, and Omni-Man. I'm just really curious. Obviously, Peacemaker, Warner Brothers, like DC characters we've used before, seems like a no-brainer. But Homelander and Omni-Man, I don't think anyone would have expected them. Curious, how did you get them into the game, and what's been the working relationship with the other studios?
Well, we always wanted to kind of, whenever we do our guest characters, we want to group them into kind of like a category, right? And in Mortal Kombat 11, we went with kind of like the action heroes, RoboCop, Rambo, Terminator, And with Mortal Kombat X, we went to the horror genre, which was Alien, Predator, and all those things. And this is kind of like imagine superheroes who've done bad things, and those three really kind of fall into that category together: Peacemaker, Omni-Man, and Homelander.
And can you say if the original actors are voicing them, or are there different actors?
We have some very good news that's coming that we're not supposed to be talking about pretty soon. But our characters are very authentic. I can tell you that.
Awesome. So,
I love that so many like bad things happen in Mortal Kombat that you had to pick the absolute worst of the villains to make them do even more bad things. Like you really had to stretch to get the worst of the worst.
So Yuri, funny enough, I know all of your friends and colleagues, they've been in the Mortal Kombat franchise before. You were just in the recent animated movie as Cobra.
Yeah.
I'm curious, the timeline of it, whether you recorded the game first or the movie, and your, I guess, familiarity with the Mortal Kombat franchise, if it was a game you played at all growing up.
It was, strangely enough, my big tie to the Mortal Kombat franchise was less about playing it. It was one of those things that I just sort of missed in my, windows of nerdy stuff and video gaming. I was familiar with it, but I was never a big player. It was actually for the 1994-1995 movie. I remember. It was the beginning of when you could set your clock radio to play a CD to wake you up, so you could choose the music and not just whatever was on the radio. And I would always wake up to that techno Mortal Kombat song, which it was better than coffee at the time. But I recorded the movies first, and then as a matter of fact, I think when they asked me to work on the game, at first I thought it was another movie, and Dominic was like, no, this is the deal. This is the game. So it was. But I didn't know exactly. Again, having Dominic there to explain, the timelines and and how the worlds collided, but were completely separate. In many ways, was also key, because it got very confusing for me for a minute.
Kelly, as most people are aware, you have martial arts training, and I think as people who are familiar with voice acting realize it's no joke. It really is physically intensive.
It can be. Yeah.
I'm curious if your physical martial arts training helped you in any way with voice recording, especially with these long, intensive sessions.
I think it does, especially when we are recording fight scenes or at least sounds for fights, because I know firsthand of what it's like to be hit in the head and things or in the stomach, and so it's much easier, I think, for me than a lot of other actors who might not have that kind of experience, and it's just more fun. I get in there and I'm pretty physical as well. I always have to make sure that I have an empty bladder. I'm wearing flat shoes. that I'm good to go with the fight sounds.
Have you ever accidentally knocked something over in the studio?
Oh, the
while
mic!
there's
Don't you always hit the mic?
I hit the mic
Yes.
stand, everything.
All
Yeah,
the
yeah,
time, all the time. Yeah.
So Ed and Dominic, I'd say Mortal Kombat is kind of going through a renaissance, in my opinion, between the games, the animated movies I just mentioned, live action movies. It seems like a great time to be a fan or just get into it, be a newbie. I'm curious your thoughts on Mortal Kombat franchise is right now.
Well, it's exciting. It's great from our perspective to be kind of, in a sense, leading the charge. We have 11 games under our belt that have really established a deep Mortal Kombat lore, and it's great to see some of those ideas reimagined in different medium: comic books, movies, animated shows.
Yeah, it's really exciting. This work that we're doing on the movie, the animated content that's come out has been a lot of fun, telling different kinds of stories than we can necessarily tell in the games. And for people that may have been familiar with MK and haven't been part of it yet, MK1 is a great opportunity to jump back in, because as Ed mentioned, we're starting from the Big Bang. There's so much about the origins of the characters. We're resetting the universe. It's really accessible in a way. It's great if you know the old lore because we're playing with it, but if you don't, you're just fine. And it's a good spot to jump in.
Finally, any fun or memorable stories you can share that happened during production?
Oh, that's
a good question. A lot of for our guest characters that are coming, there's a lot of behind the scenes stuff that doesn't see the light of day. you know, these two over here, I think we're being a little bit more humble. You know, a lot of what our characters, what defines them, is how they sound. And for instance, Kelly, she did our Devore character in our previous games, and Lee May as well. And so when you're going to see videos and all that of the characters, that essence of it, Dominic coaching them, and you know the combination of the two really hits hard in terms of like defining these characters that again go out into other forms of media. That's exciting.
Yes, same question.
I don't know. Yeah.
What was the question?
I'm sorry, any fun and memorable stories during recording process?
I think, didn't we start these at home?
Yeah.
We were,
Yeah.
I think this started during the pandemic, so a lot of it in the beginning was done in our homes, in our houses. And then when things started to finally loosen up, then we were able to go in studio. But I was still doing things remotely because I was also working in different cities and stuff like that. So yeah, I feel like this game has been going on forever and has followed like me from city to city, from my house to city to city to city. But you know, it's with technology these days, you can do that, which is awesome.
And yeah, because so much of it was recorded remotely, I guess when players are playing the game, they can try to, you know, figure out whether or not we were wearing pants or whether, you know, we were, like whether we were in our pajamas at the time, you know, because you never know.
On that note, it's been a pleasure chatting with you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks to our sponsors, Mad Cave and Global Comics.